Alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So Baraka and I, we're very close. We spent a lot of time together. Alhamdulillah, we were together on a lot of songs before. But we also both came to Islam through hip hop.
Yeah. I can probably hear you if you just turn that mic off.
We were talking today about the Wadi Sango and the difference between Wadi Sango and hip hop. And I think one of the big things we learned on this trip, like there was one of the maqams and the masjids there, that had converted this whole group of Hindus to Islam, the Wadi Sango. I don't remember which mosque it was. But then they asked them to design the mosque. So the mosque reminded me of the temple that I had seen in Kuala. It's the same stone. The only difference is there's no animal shapes. There's no, gods and gods. There's none of these forms. It's the same brick. It's the same architectural style. And so the big difference to me, like really reflecting on this trip, between hip hop and our journey to Islam is that we were guided, and in many cases we were guided by a wali, not wali was Malcolm X, that's why they should But within hip hop, you had a lot of cultural bridge builders, which is one of the big geniuses of the Wali Sango, the way they were able to build bridges. But the difference is, within hip hop, you didn't have the dialogue, right? You didn't have the spiritual genius to also go with the artists. And so what was amazing about Wali Sango was like, as scholars, and as artists, and as people encouraging the arts and encouraging the cultural bridge building, whereas we grew, like hip hop emerges while Islam is growing simultaneously as Salafism in America is growing, is really, really crazy in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. And many people converted to Islam and left Islam because of that. And so you didn't have an encouragement of artists to have a high spiritual station. So I think one of the things that I reflect upon is that how do we actually encourage artists to have that high spiritual station, understanding what that bridge building is about, what dawah is truly about.
MashaAllah. Yeah, that's an important point that I meant to mention. As we were studying the Wali Sango, we'd get a biography of each one and we'd visit their grave, and almost all of them, they said he was a musician as well. He was a scholar, a musician, right? Or he was right? He would do the puppet shows. So they were artists. And so I thought this can't be lost, that it was the artists that actually really did this dawah, these scholarly artists. This is something that I've thought a lot about what you say, Destin, in that what we have in America, and you can probably see similar things here, is that you have people that are very talented artists that just happen to be Muslim, but Islam doesn't really inform their art, right? They're just a talented artists, and they're in the art space, and they may be doing great work. Then on the other hand, you have a group of people, this is a big thing in America and in Europe and probably here, where they're not actually that talented artists. They're just copying like Western pop songs. And then they put like maybe a little Islamic lyrics, like, hey, I pray 5 times a day, yay. And it's like, it wouldn't stand on its own. It's kind of identity music. Nobody that's not Muslim would be like, this is amazing, right? Whereas before I was Muslim, I used to listen to Qawwali music. I used to listen to West African Sufi music. Because this great mastery of an art form. And it's all sacred music. They're all talking about the Prophet and Allah and all these things, the awliya. So we have these two pendulums, or these two extremes in America. And what's important, and it's starting to emerge, but it's still new, is this group of individuals in the middle who are connected to the scholars, who are connected to the awliya, and see their art as inseparable from their spiritual path. And see that ihsan, true mastery of their art, is a way to worship Allah. And that Allah is beautiful and loves beauty. And that if they're going to do what they're going to do, they need to master it at the highest level. And they need to see it as a means to affect hearts. One of our teachers, when they asked about string instruments, he said, guitars, He said the thing about the instrument and music is that it opens the heart. It really opens the heart. So he said, the problem is that with an open heart is you can put anything in it if the heart's open. He said that's why we have to do music, because we have to have people putting good things in people's hearts, right? And so this was an encouragement. So this is what I'd like to see. I really see it as like a vanguard of individuals who are connected to the tradition of the Prophet ﷺ and his true inheritors, and are using their art as a means to draw people, not just to tell people about Islam, or not to just say as an identity piece, I'm Muslim, but to see their art as a way to ma'rifah, to knowing Allah. Because in traditional gatherings, right, one of our teachers, one of the great Islamic philosophers, he said, art is the means by which the deepest truths of a religion are expressed to the masses. Very few people are going to be great philosophers or theologians or legal scholars, right? That's certain people. But most people in traditional societies, how do they come in contact with Allah? It's from walking into a beautiful masjid, and the architecture, and the calligraphy, and the tile work, which all has symbolic meaning. And then the qasidas, the songs that are sung with these deep spiritual realities, right? You read these great poems of the great masters, and they put deep metaphysics in their poems, but they do it in a way that's simple and that a child can understand. And many other forms of art. Even traditional dress was beautiful, and it really brought out the angelic nature of the human being as opposed to just the animal nature. So, yeah, Destin, I mean, I really believe that this is important, and it's not less important than developing scholars and intellectuals. It's not less important, because most people, they connect with their deen through beauty, aesthetics, and not through this intellectual discourse. So anyway, yeah, mashallah, Allah raise amongst us artists with ma'rifah.